Hello guys, it's me Stark and I'm here to talk about a very interesting strategy. To be honest, it's nothing new, it's something that you already know, but I would like to discuss this strategy and why it is so effective. One of these days I was playing ranked and something very interesting happened to me. I was able to win two games around the 10-minute mark. And I got myself thinking, is it that strong? Is this strategy so strong? So I wanted to discuss, I wanted to share the build, I wanted to share some insights and why I think that this strategy recently got buffed for Arabia. And the strategy itself is Man at Arms. Every Civ has access to Man at Arms. It doesn't matter what Civ we are thinking here, everyone has access to the Man at Arm upgrade. So this is something that you can pretty much execute with any civilization, but of course, some civilizations might actually get some huge benefits from doing it. So in this game, for example, did had the Romans. Romans have a very good economical bonus, which is this 5% faster rate, gathering rate for any of their tasks. So they build, they gather, they repair, everything they do 5% faster. So basically you have an inherent economical bonus that you do not have to do anything for it to benefit. And if you want to play a very strong man-at-arm, the Romans receive double effect on their armor. So once you upgrade the +1 armor, they will actually receive +2 armor. So this makes their man-at-arms very strong. The build, guys. Well, it's quite simple. You start here with 6 villagers on the foot, then you place 3 villagers on the wood, and then you just want to keep adding villagers to eat the food. On this game, for example, we did had a chicken map, so there were no deers for me to lure, very close to my base. So how did I actually adapted my build on this scenario? I actually used some villagers to collect the chicken during the Dark Age. So once I had around 10 villagers on the food, 9 and now 10, I just sent 4 villagers towards the chicken and split them in two different chickens. There are several ways for you to do that. You can do two in each chicken, you can get 3 villagers and eat one chicken and then eat a second one. So there are many ways of playing that. And of course, meanwhile, I was just taking the boar. Why do I actually go out of my way to get the chicken? Because you don't want to consume all the food under your RTC, and after you reach feudal age, you are just idle and you have to go after the chicken, go after the meal. So if you already start splitting up your resources, your villagers on different food sources, this will actually work a lot better. And then I went for the barracks as soon as I had enough wood to build one. So there I am, making my barracks. I could get lamed by an eagle, so I actually did these small palisades around my villager. That's an extra safety measure because I was like far away from the TC and on a hill. So if an eagle spotted me, he could kill me. Okay, the danger is out. I can now go for a house and then click up. So basically, here's the build. These are our 3 initial villagers on the wood. Everyone else is on the foot, and I do have 2 villagers here on the gold by the time I click to feudal age. Immediately after clicking to the feudal age, what you want to do is, as soon as you have 50 food, you want to start making men at arms. So there I am going for the lumber camp. I'm actually going to split the villagers here so that I do not have way too few villagers on the wood. As I said, guys, my food here is on the limit. I'm eating my last ships here. There's one more coming to the TC, but I already have to start thinking about diversifying my food sources. So in order for that to happen, I'm actually going to send more villagers to the chicken because this is a chicken map. If this was a deer map, I would probably still have around 3 ships on my TC because I would have lured. And I'm making men at arms. My plan here is to reach my opponent's base with my 3 men at arms before he's making his second military building. Usually, let's take a look, your opponent will be doing that. He's doing like one building, like a barracks, and then he will have to choose between opening with an archer, opening with scouts. In those scenarios, by the time he is trying to make his range, this is the time that you want to reach him out with your militia. And as soon as you reach feudal age, you want to upgrade men at arms. You don't have to wait men at arms to attack, especially because this timing is very crucial. For example, you can actually get a guy by surprise before he realizes what you are actually playing against.
Team
Right here
death.
he had only 2 villagers and I did have 3 militias, so the odds are very in my were in my favor here. I did start to attack him. I was able to trap one of his villagers here with the militia, and of course, when he actually tried to defend using eagles and using more villagers, I just regrouped it and also used my scout here on a military unit. Once Minotaur upgrade kicks in, you are always going to win the trades. And right there, this guy lost 2 villagers where I was about to lose
Boundless.
more, got his archer range denied, and died. Meanwhile, on my base, for my eco to still working, I
Team
actually
death.
did a meal here on the berries, so I had a constant food production and I was still eating food from the chickens. So that's basically the idea, and now I'm
Boundless.
not even considering going for my secondary building to transitioning, but right there what I would do was basically adapting to whatever my opponents are doing. For example, in this
Dagger.
scenario, let's suppose that Thunderbolt actually walled his villagers and start making archers. I would go for the natural counter, the skirmishers. So that's basically how the strategy works. Let's take a look here on another game that I played against Chicho. Alright guys, so this is another game. I did have the Incas, and honestly I think that Incas is an excellent civilization to execute this, and there are several reasons for that. What benefits that does Inca receive when trying to execute this build? First one, their houses provide 10 population each, so after you made your 2 initial houses, you have up to 25 population. This means that you can make a very clean Dark Age without even having to consider adding more houses, and you already save up some wood because you won't have to use the houses, so you are actually gonna have access sooner to your barracks. As Incas, you also start with a llama, which provides you some extra food on the beginning, which means that I can just scout with multiple ships and open up more map while still having extra 100 food on the TC. And food on the TC has a lot of value for this kind of strategy. The Eagle also scout quite well because it opens up more map. And of course, I will also have a small discount on all of my military units that do cost food. So there are multiple bonus that create a synergy here for Incas to be a great civilization. Not to mention the follow-up, guys. If I actually want to follow up with skirmishers, my skirmishers are also benefit from the food discount, and I'm only going to pay 23 food for it. It might look like a very small discount, but when you consider that you are going to stay a long period of time doing those units, the sum of these small discounts gives you a food boost that will allow you to go to Castaway faster, that will allow you to afford upgrades, and this was actually a deer map, guys. So tree on the wood, eating food, and luring the deer with my eagle. Of course, my execution is not always on point, so in this game I'm even going to miss the last deer. Already dropping here the barracks, and going for the last deer. Barracks has been dropped, sending the 2 last villagers here to the gold. I'm also going to manage clicking up here with population 19, and I'm luring the last deer. Uh-oh, I did fail. Right now I had to make a decision. Am I going to lure the last deer or am I going to scout? And scouting was my decision. You can make some variations of the Minotaur opening. For example, on this game, my option here was to actually go for 4 militias. Yes, not only 3, but actually 4. The reasons for that were multiple ones. First one, I did have a lot of food on the TC because that was a deer map and I also had the extra llama. 2, I had a small food saving, and 3, my opponent was Gurgerous, so I knew that this guy would have a mill. So my plan here was to pressure him using my men at arms, and even if he defended with the mill, my plan was to start making archers and skirmishers very close to his base. So I even sent a villager forward so that if everything went wrong, I would just try to focus on killing his mill. So even if he fully walled himself, I would just target the mill and use my own skirmishers and archers to deliver cover to my infantry. I did try to attack the guy, but he was smart enough here and walled in just in time, so I couldn't get or attack his foot villagers. I just move it around. Remember, guys, that I do have like 5 infantry units, which is very powerful. And oh, he did leave a hole. By leaving a hole, I was allowed to attack the core of his economy, the gold and the wood, killing a villagers, make all these villagers go idle, and he resigned. So yes, guys, 2k2, 2k3, 2k4 opponents killed in 10-minute mark because of the Minotaur. I think that one of the reasons that is leading this strategy to be very successful is players are luring. And nowadays we did had some small changes in Arabia that make luring blind this guy. For example, this is Chicho's point of view. He's scouting, he's about to find the deers. Oh, he did found the deers, but he is Gurjaras, so he still wants to get on the ship, and now he starts to lure. Since Chicho is actually busy here luring, he's not going to my base and he's not going to scout me. This is the first deer and he's getting it around 12 villagers. So this means that he will still go back and get deer number 2, deer number 3, deer number 4, and by making that, he's actually going to be quite blind himself. Right now, we are both on the way to the next age, and Chicho is still working here with his camel to deliver extra food to his economy. That's deer number 3, and he is Gurjaras. He's only thinking economically. He's not thinking about scouting, so he's completely blind. So while he's there, fighting with the deer, and focusing on making a very good economy, I'm already coming forward with Eagle, with militias, with a forward villager to drop an archer range, and he's complete unaware of the situation because he's luring. So these days, people focus a lot more on the eco, so therefore the chances of you surprising the guy on these first 2 minutes of feudal age are very high, and that's in my opinion one of the reasons for the strategy to succeed. The second one is that the buildings are a lot weaker these days, and you can also upgrade arson to surprise the guy by even killing his stuff. I'm here with the eagle, he's already dropping an archer range, he's luring, so he's doing multiple stuff. He's going for the gold, he's making an archer range, he's luring, he's making villagers. This guy is making at least 4 different things on this time. And he do spot my militias and still reacts fast enough for his villagers to survive. So that's a very fast reaction, but since he only found out about my militias as soon as I showed up on his base, because he was not scouting, his reaction time was not bad and he wasn't planning to receive this attack. So now he has to run against the clock to try and quick wall. And quick walling, my friends, can be quite tricky because at the same time that it can deliver you an excellent result of defending you by utilizing a minimum amount of resources, well, you can actually miss a spot, and that's what happened here. Despite using several villagers to build it, missing a single spot in a quick wall means that you are gonna have most of your economy exposed, which can lead to your demise, which is what happened on this game. A similar thing happened, guys, on the Thunderbolt game. If you go back to the game, the scouting was probably the main reason he died, because a guy on his level shouldn't be surprised by an attack. But let's take a look on Thunderbolts. He's Mayan. He starts here, he's scouting with the eagle, he knows that this is a chicken map, so he's already thinking about, hey, I can use the chicken here to boost, but remember, even on chicken maps, we do now have the extra deers. So he did went here for the extra deers. And as you can see, they are even far away from the regular deers from the TC. So what is Thunderbolt doing? He's busy there bringing extra food to the town center. He did spot more ships, that was very good. He's going now for the second deer. These guys are very good, their builds are very tight. As you can see, both players actually did builds to make the counter of the Man-at-Arm. The best counter to Man-at-Arm is archers. Chicho did archers. Thunderbolt is playing as the Mayan and going already with a mining camp and not even with a mill. So both players actually did the correct unit, but it's just not about the unit. By the way, he did skip the last deer, guys. Different from Chicho, Thunderbolt actually wanted to scout me. So he was there going with his Eagle Scout, And he did spot my barracks. And in my opinion, this was probably the biggest mistake. I think that Thunderbolt should have confirmed that I was actually playing mana times. I see. I mean, if I see a barracks on this timing and I do not have my barracks yet, and I'm doing a very fast up, I should actually say, this guy is probably coming malicious. So, in my opinion, the correct decision for him right now would be dropping one palisade here to protect this gold, one, two, three palisades here to protect these other villagers, start building the barracks in a way to already close up his base. For example, he could have started to make a barracks and a house right there. In the direction of the town center, so he would block all this area, or he could have done the barracks like right there, right here, close to the TC, where my villagers wouldn't be able to hit, and close this with a few palisades. So these were actually be my calls if I actually realized that my opponent was going for this kind of up. But Thunderbolt kept scouting and he didn't saw me producing militias. Then he went through my mill, but he didn't saw if I had or not a mill. And then he was going towards my gold. And this is very interesting. Look what's actually gonna happen here. Thunderbolt is actually see my gold, but he's not gonna see that I have villagers collecting gold. And these guys changes everything because right here he just went through my gold and I see okay, that's Stark's gold and he's not taking it. So if he's not taking the gold, it's very likely that he's not going for it. Since I did not have a meal on the berries, he probably assumed that I was eating the chicken because this was chicken map. So I could have just be playing with like a meal start on the chicken. By the way, he even considered doing a palisade, but he just gave up on the idea. Perhaps by the time he did saw it. And there it goes. So he does not see me on the mule, he does not see me on the gold, and he does see me on the chicken. If I were him and I had the information that this guy's not on gold, I would actually think, okay, this guy's not on gold, but actually guys, I was on gold. About one tile he did a bad scouting and that led to a bad decision because he actually saw several villagers eating the chicken, so he probably assumed, oh, start doing like a scout build or a skirmisher build, and he's not using the berries because his meal is there. But there was no meal. I was just going there with villagers and eating the chicken. So basically, this led him to believe that I was actually going to play with either scouts or archer range. And what actually confirms that is that his ego finished going around and was now going towards my barracks because he probably wanted to spot a military building right there, like a stable, like an archer range. So scouting is a crucial part of countering mana arms, and with these maps, with a lot of food to push with your ego, players are more and more often making up the decision of actually going for the deers, and this is costing them valuable information, which is leading them to their demise. Because by the time you start reacting, fighting is bad because you might lose villagers. Running is bad because you're actually idling your TC. And while you are trying to save your villagers, still make your army, you might end up losing several units, causing a lot of idle time. Quick walling requires a lot of attention, and if you are not doing that before you start fighting, you won't have the same APM to both save villagers and keep building. So basically, this is what led Thunderbolt to his demise. So bad scouting, maps with more deers, and players having to or trusting too much on their quick reactions might lead to those small to this time window, which can be quite deadly to the man at arms. On more higher levels, players are better on the scouting skill. So basically, they have this fundamental, very internalized. They are often going to skip the last like one or two deers in order to make sure to get the information about what their opponent is doing. Because with the correct information, you can just react by making a few palisades. So this, guys, is the Minotaur strategy that I plan to share the build and some small tips during this week. I hope you enjoy it, and let's go for the Minotaur week.